Mr Limbrick to move his notice of motion number 12.
Thank you, Acting President. I would like to move notice of motion number 12 in my name. Australians are now being divided into new classes of people who could be described as people whose families own their houses and people who don't. And as house prices go up, the gap widens. At every election now, federal or state, there is a lot said about housing affordability, homelessness, and about inequality. There is going to be a lot more said about it as interest rates rise and as international students and backpackers return to Australia. But today I'll concentrate on the issue of taxes, and particularly land taxes. Tax reform is something that's really important but doesn't grab the public attention like many social issues do. When talking about tax, many people use phrases like tax is the price we pay for living in a civilised society. Whilst it's true that taxes generate revenue that funds services valued by many people in society, the Liberal Democrats are a libertarian party, so we look at tax through a different lens. Another way to consider tax is the confiscation of other people's property. People don't have much choice about paying taxes. They are compulsory. So the expectation should be that this confiscated wealth is used efficiently. When we consider efficiency, stamp duty is frequently referred to as the worst tax. It was over a decade ago that the Henry Review recommended abolishing stamp duty amongst other property tax reforms. The Productivity Commission has recommended abolishing stamp duty also. Even in this chamber, when my colleague Mr Quilty asked about abolishing stamp duty, former Minister Jennings acknowledged that it is a problematic tax, but noted that tax reform is a very challenging prospect for government. And on that point, I agree. The aim of this motion is to get the wheels moving so that something can be done about it. There are two main ways governments can make housing affordable. One is to ease land restrictions, and the other is to stop slugging people with tens of thousands of dollars of fees every time they buy a property. Stamp duties are a massive hurdle for people who want to get into the housing market. Someone buying a house in Melbourne at the median price of $746,000 will pay nearly $40,000 in stamp duty, and every time they raise a bid, the stamp duty goes up also. The mortgage payments that are inflated by these taxes over many years cannot be spent on other things like clothes, newer and safer cars, children's education or charity. The Federal Treasury has estimated that every dollar of stamp duty revenues raised by governments does 72 cents of harm to the economy. It not only reduces affordability, it distorts the market, dampens construction, keeps people in empty big houses, commuting long distances rather than living in more appropriate dwellings. And increasingly, it's only the rich that can afford a house with all the taxes that go with it. Of course, most of you will know what I'm really up to because the Liberal Democrats really hate taxes. We believe it's right that people should be allowed to do what they want with their own money. We believe that most drunken sailors are better economic managers than governments because at least sailors know what they want and they use their own money. But I know you don't agree on this point. Every government in Australia loves taxes because it allows them to give the money away again and pretend for a moment that they're good people. And I know that some of you might be alarmed that all of this beautiful money might no longer be confiscated from hardworking Victorians and the game will be up. So whilst I admit that if it was up to the Liberal Democrats we would abolish lots of taxes altogether, this is not what the inquiry is about. As much as we hate taxes, we also hate debt. We don't think it's right or moral to leave debt to future generations. So this inquiry would be looking at investigating alternatives. If there was a theme to the findings of other inquiries, it would be that stamp duties are one of the worst kinds of taxes, but the real trick is finding a way to fill that budget hole. I won't speculate about what these alternatives might be. That will be the job of the Economy and Infrastructure Committee should this motion pass. But I note that there's many other jurisdictions that have attempted reforms, and I believe it's time that we had a look at how they're working out. So don't fear, the rivers of money will continue to flow at least until the Liberal Democrats form government in a few terms from now. I urge all of those who think about housing, affordability, homelessness and inequality are important topics to support this inquiry into land taxes and stamp duties. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it.
Being a libertarian is sometimes described as like being the only sober person in the car and no one will let you drive. The government is driving us into the dark.